Well, what you see in front of you here is typical of a tumor as it develops in the body. It starts small, and it vascularizes. It sends out veins to tap resources in other parts of the body. And you have telephone lines, and you have sewer lines, and you have water lines bringing water from 200 miles away. This is an oasis civilization possible with this kind of density, 5 million people in the Bay Area, only because water is stolen from the mountains and from the hillsides and from the meadows in the mountains of California.
I ran across, in my process of my studies, some images of the changes in the morphology of various human communities, Western cities in particular, that looked to me like nothing so much as an expanding malignant tumor. I was thinking about this, and I heard some comments to the effect that the human species, may look to some people from outside the planet as though it's more of a planetary disease. So I thought, well, if it's a disease, what would the disease be? The human species now appears to have all the major characteristics of a malignant process. The characteristics include rapid uncontrolled growth, metastasis, or distant colonization of tissue, invasion and destruction of adjacent normal tissues, and dedifferentiation. The rapid uncontrolled growth of the human population was one major characteristic of the human population. Metastasis is obviously a parallel with distant colonization, which human species have been doing since the beginning of time. And invasion and destruction of adjacent normal environments, if you put it that way instead of tissues, is what human beings do.
This tumor's hopping tonight.
It's crowded. There's too many of us.
You can't have too many. Growth is good. In fact, unrestrained growth is the philosophy of the cancer cell.
But we're using up resources that other cells need.
Other cells? Like spleen cells? You value spleen cells over cancer cells?
No,
Other cells wouldn't have any value without cancer cells around to appreciate them.
But what about...
Cancer cells are the pinnacle of evolution. We're not like other cells. We can think. We're more successful because we're smarter.
Sometimes
Hey, the show's starting.
Good evening, ladies and James. Especially James. I just metastasized in from the liver, and boy is my cytoplasm tired!
This guy is the pinnacle of evolution.
Looks like you're expecting two.
Oh yes, I just love children.
How many now?
537. Oh, make that 538.
We're stopping at 2,000 for the environment.
How ecological.
Well, like ZPG says, consider having none or one, and be sure to stop at 2,000.
But you don't plan children. They just happen.
It sure seems that way.
What do you mean, not reproduce?
How many billion more cancer cells do we need?
If smart cancer cells like us don't reproduce, then we'll only have dumb cancer cells. things will just get worse.
But the body can't handle this many of us.
Of course it can. Cancer cells are just as natural as any other cells. We're part of the body. Why would the body make cells that were bad for it?
Maybe we should metastasize out to the country.
I hear the lymph nodes are nice.
Not the suburbs, the country.
Like where we went camping last year?
Yeah,
The left lung.
You need to get out more.
Get out where? It's like this everywhere.
Listen to him. He lives in a tumor and he thinks the whole body is overpopulated. It so happens that the body's entire cancer population could fit into just one nostril. That leaves a whole other nostril free.
Metastasis is our natural biological function, our manifest destiny, if you will. It's survival of the fittest.
It's a family tradition for me. My great-great-grandfather fed on living tissue.
When this host is consumed, we'll find another one, or its economic equivalent.
You know, sometimes I think all the cells in the body form one big organism, and that organism has a soul, and it can feel what we're doing to it.
You and your crackpot New Age theories.